I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 2, we will call to order the March 19th, 2026 Village Board meeting. I would just like to take a moment to thank our office staff, our public works and the biz staff, and our police department and your staff for keeping us all safe during this storm. It was handled very well, and I think we all appreciate it. So thank you very much. Roll call shows trustees are all present except for Carrie, who is excused. Office staff is all present, and our attorney is excused. 4 agenda changes. Are there any? Okay. 5 consent agenda. A, March 5th, 2026 regular board meeting minutes. B, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. Are there any questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I will second it.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. 6, pre-registered citizens to be heard. Are there any?
Yes, looks like Claire Abbott's. Thank you. 326 North Oak.
Hi, I just wanted to comment on the item for the gazebo in Veterans Park. There was some discussion at the Historical Society, which I'm a part of as the secretary, and the group would like to take that on as a refurbishment project because of its history in the town and who built it, so we're very interested in that. So, thanks.
Anyone else?
No.
7, committee reports. There are none. 8, unfinished business from previous meetings. There's none. 9, new business. A, discussion and possible action on Alonzo Park Playground final pay application.
So this is just the final payment of the retainer that we held over the winter just to make sure all the concrete and everything went through. Before it snowed, Nathan and I did walk it and everything looked really good, so I think we're good on finishing off the contract with Vinny.
Okay. Any questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to. Sorry. Go ahead, Jane. Twice today.
I'll make a motion to approve the final payment in the amount of $23,750.16 for the Alonzo Park.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. B, discussion and possible action on resolution R-03-26, final plot for Nature's Haven.
This went for, at the last planning and zoning meeting, they had a public hearing, and there was only 2 people that showed up for that. One of them had just some questions on some of the basically wetland areas that are set to be properties. I basically told him that that's usually governed by the state, so if they are planning on building there, they would have to do some type of mitigation in order to build on those properties, but that's not something the village really deals with. And then the only other question was on kind of a different section of this development, was on the south side, about neighboring property owner from Hortonville wanted to purchase some of the lot that they found. I told him it'd be better for him to come back when the final plat for that section comes in, and that's a better time to kind of discuss that, because we don't know what it's going to look like right now, and what it'll look like in the future. So when the engineering gets done on that section, it would be the time to kind of start talking about that with us. So other than that, I don't think there was any other concerns that came up from the board at that meeting, and it was recommended for approval.
The only thing I can remember that would be addition to this is that road, the temporary road, right?
Yep, they did add in that temporary road that was discussed in the preliminary plat, was having that construction road, and that's been designed in here as well.
Are there any other questions? Otherwise, we
Is
will
that
need
the
a
substantive
motion.
change to it? 'Cause
Well,
it's like
yeah.
20 pages in the packet, so it's like impossible
Yeah.
to piece it together in your head, to try to figure out what it was supposed
Yeah.
to look
I've
like.
got a paper copy here.
Yeah.
I was hoping that when we came, there was gonna be a big copy to look at.
You can look at that one.
Were there any other substantive changes, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think between the preliminary plat and this, not much changed on the parcels.
Okay,
Obviously, they added in a lot more detail, so we have details of the ponds and of the stormwater facilities, the sewer laterals, all that other stuff was put into this, elevations. So, there are a few changes that our engineering firm has for their engineering firm to alter, but they're not substantial enough to really prevent any type of movement on the actual plan. He's actually here, so if anyone has any questions for Ron, he's our village engineer, he could kind of talk to you a little bit about any of those changes that he's kind of talked about, that we're gonna propose to them.
How many lots was this again? How many lots were?
So in this section, there's less, there's another section, basically this is phase 1, 2, and 3. There's still 4, 5, and 6, which is in the southern southern phase. There's about 126 or so in this northern phase.
Can I ask a question? Where are the exits gonna be?
So as of right now, I mean, in the end, there's gonna be a few on, off on M, and then there's gonna be Wayne, and there'll be a Gale, which, I mean, it moves to a different street, it's not.
Well, Gale just is on top, that'll just go down, that don't go out.
Right, it doesn't go out to the main
No.
thoroughfare. So if you're talking in the first phase, the
And
only exit.
How many
really-
houses are gonna be in the first phase?
So,
126.
So 126 are all be coming down Wayne Drive.
no. For a portion of it, there will be. In the beginning, it's actually phased out in here. I wish I could pull it up. I'm having technical difficulties right now. But the first, like, 2 phases are the only ones that are gonna probably have that impact, where you're gonna have, probably 2/3 of the homes with that Wayne Drive and Gale are the only exits. At the third phase is where the road gets put in on that, first exit out to M.
And how long is that? When is that gonna happen?
Estimated is within 3 years. The whole thing will be done. So,
So for 3 years, we got all these people coming down one road.
potentially, yeah.
Wow. Isn't there something else that can be done?
I mean, there is an emergency access road, well, a construction road that we will be putting in. My guess is most of them aren't gonna be using that. They still could, but that's pretty much all we have. I mean, that's how it was designed when
Are all the construction vehicles gonna go up Easy Street?
No, those are gonna come in through that construction road. That'll be put in the first phase. So we did that, the village helped pay for that, so that it would alleviate as much as possible some of the impacts on the residents with the bigger vehicles. But,
What might help, Nathan, is the construction road is actually further south down M.
Right.
But, so that construction entrance is actually, I wouldn't say quite a ways, but it goes past all of those houses on Nash, and it's actually down the hill.
Right.
Onto M is where that construction entrance is, it's actually on M.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's hard to visualize without.
yeah, I apologize. I don't know what's happening.
I was in a thought.
You know. So the construction entrance is actually, I think, beyond what's what was formerly the Getlinger farm, or the farmhouse and that, right? Am I,
It's where the actual entrance for the road will be when it's constructed in phase 3.
three,
Um,
yeah.
But it's right before the home that's down there.
The farmhouse, the old farmhouse? Okay. If I say the Getlinger farm, most of the folks in that area would know. I don't know. Anybody else want to see this?
If there are no other questions, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve R-3-26, the final plat for Nature's Haven.
A second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. C, discussion and possible action on resolution R-05-26, declaring intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing.
This is basically a resolution that we would pass. That way, if we do have expenditures that come in before we can get our bond sold, that we're going out for Main Street reconstruction, we can reimburse ourselves for those costs that happened prior to that bond actually getting into our hands. So, in order to do that, we would have to approve this resolution, basically.
Are we expecting a significant number of expenses to come in before that, or?
It's all dependent. So the problem is the sale of bond, it's like a 90-day process according to Ellers, and depending on how fast the county's gonna bill us. In the past, it hasn't been an issue because the county's really slow at billing us.
Okay.
But this just protects us just in case something does come in prior to those funds coming in. This doesn't authorize any purchasing or selling or anything like that. It just allows us to reimburse for those specific projects earlier.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to approve, was it R-5-26?
Correct.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. D, discussion and possible action on fire fees.
So after kind of looking through some of the state stuff with regards to fire fees, there's a few scenarios you could do a flat fee. The problem with doing a flat fee is right now that there's a few flat fees that are being challenged by the Wisconsin Manufacturing Group in Pewaukee right now. So the ones that haven't been challenged are all based on square footage of the parcels. So what's on your parcel, how much square footage your home is. So in order to do that, there's a few ways you can do it. Basically, I kind of have two options here is with if you want to add in capital funds or outstanding debt as part of the cost along with the fire fees. You could do that, taking all of your fire expenditures and basically having them all part of this fee. Otherwise, you could remove the debt in the capital budget potentially and just kind of go with the operating budget, and I just have it separated out, but it's audit costs basically. So those are some of your options you could do. This structure in here has a 3-tier. So there's one tier that you don't pay if you have a empty property that's not assessed by the assessors. So basically, a lot of these are properties that are tied to the same owner next to each other. Sometimes they don't have, they're all just kind of commingled. Otherwise, if it's a village property that's empty, that's vacant, they don't have assessed values, or school properties that are vacant, they don't have assessed values. So those would not be charged anything. You would have a flat fee if you had a vacant lot that did have assessed value on it. So that would be pretty much any of the, basically farms, developers, plots of land like that. And then the other thing would be the remainder of what that amount was after you take out those fees would then be split by a square foot basis. And so what I kind of put up here is two examples. One is with those capital budgets and the debt service that we currently have from the fire department in there, along with the reduction in our mill rate from the village's taxes, to give you kind of an estimate of what this would end up costing people per year, and basically would it break even, or would it cost a little more for each person? So.
Okay, so this is a proposal to replace the pull the fire fees out
Of the village's
of
budget.
the village's budget.
Right.
Okay. Was there, in your research, was there any variation in the rate to properties based off of the type of usage? Because obviously a vacant lot, the amount of need for, fire control is very, very low.
Right.
And if they do have a fire, they're not gonna be there for,
Right.
a day and a half putting out a fire versus, if they go into an apartment complex, or they go into an industrial plant or something like that. Was there
Right.
anything to differentiate based off of the type of use of the property, or?
So that's kind of what the flat fee is for the vacant lot.
Okay.
But if you're comparing commercial property and industrial property, no. I'd probably want to verify with council if we would want to go that route, because then you might get challenged based on usage. But I don't know. So this was the structure that, I can't remember, it was Western Lakes Fire District was using. So you do also have a copy of the ordinance too. Villages Summit is who it is, of how they come up with the fee and everything like that.
Okay.
The way it worked out is if we basically went with the second route where we didn't include the capital budget from this year, which was like the asphalt patch. We already kind of had that part of our mill rate anyway. And then the fire truck fee, you could still have that as an option in the ordinance. We don't necessarily have to have that as part of the cost with this fee. Because I guess it'd be nice to have it in there for the future, so if there was something else that came up in the future, when you're proposing that and you're talking about maybe a new fire truck, you can say what it's gonna cost people per year on top of their tax bill as a separate item, and that could be voted on by a future board. Where I think the way we did it before was we kind of added it into our debt, which I think we should, we could keep it that way, so that, because we've already kind of budgeted for that, so then it's not a huge impact on residents as well. But if you took those two items out, your average resident would probably see, depending on the square footage of their home, these are single-family homes, would see probably a $59 difference, like pay less. But where that's getting made up for is usually, some is industrial, but a good amount of it's gonna be school district, village, nonprofits, churches that don't pay anything currently.
Okay, I got a couple questions, and maybe to kind of piggyback on the Jim. So, and maybe it's not to piggyback, but I think of like, so we have some properties that are like a duplex, and currently there's two, I think of the Gold Cross fees, or the ambulance fees. So when you have your tax bill, there's actually two. I own a property, it's an R2, there's an upper and a lower, or side by side, whatever, two fees on there. So this doesn't take into consideration that there might be actually 2 residences, it's just based on square footage.
It doesn't matter, because the whole argument with this structure is that it's based on property, which is the argument of the state statute that they used against the ambulance fee, right? Because they
Okay.
said it's people. So you don't want it tied to people or
You want it
anything
tied
like
to
that.
property.
You want it tied to property, and that's why they believe this square footage.
And is the square footage based on like the Bomar type of square footage?
Yep.
And so that's taking into consideration, so if somebody has
I would
a,
say, well, I will, mostly, for residents, yes, because they have that. Commercial property, yes, they
Yeah.
have that. Industrial, I had to dig through basically our plan sets for the industrial area. Some of the school districts, I had to kind of get from them. Ours, there was a few of the nonprofits that we didn't have maps for, and I had to measure based on GIS. So it was a little harder, but, because Bomar does not keep any nonprofit
okay.
square footage. They do for residential, commercial buildings, and
And,
then,
and where do they get the data for the square footage? So there's a lot of people who completely finished their lower level, and now that's considered square footage for living space, right?
it's only the footprint.
Oh,
how
it's
it's
only the
based.
footprint.
So it's the first floor and that's it.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right, but, I
But-
mean, it makes sense, but I don't
But
think
I'm-
it seems right.
No, it doesn't.
Assessed value versus.
I mean, if you expand this out, right, and you say, okay, say somebody wants to put an apartment building, like it's in Appleton, and it's 8 stories tall, right? So they have a lot, and next to them is a lot that is a single-family home that just happens to have a bigger yard, right? Now, both of them are gonna pay the same fee
No.
for fire services?
If they had the same footprint.
Yeah,
So
that's
of
what I
the-
mean.
Of the
Same-
building.
Building
Oh, the
footprint.
building.
Sorry, yeah, building
Okay.
footprint, not yard.
Okay.
Building
Yard is useless, it doesn't matter, you have a 5-acre lot. you're
Okay, okay,
It's-
okay.
If I have
All right,
1,500
that makes a
square-
big difference.
Yeah.
Okay,
But you could take a single family home like mine, right?
Yeah.
And technically you've got the basement, main level, upstairs, and attic, which is a full walk around attic. So you've got 4 levels of home there, where somebody could have a 1-story home and have the exact same footprint,
I
and
think
we're
the-
paying.
I think the problem is gonna be how do you actually know that?
Okay, that's where I was wondering if it's like with the
So-
assessed.
The goal is to have it as fair as possible within the knowledge that you have, otherwise we would have to know I mean, they're supposed to be taking out permits if they're putting in a,
Well, correct, but I'm
But-
saying like, but does Bomar have that information? Is it Bomar? Is it
I don't
that's the
think
name,
they
right?
do. Not
No.
interior, no.
Not
No.
interior square footage?
they have
No,
square footage of the first floor and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, build up. Because I know I've been asked like how many bathrooms we have, how many bedrooms we have, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
does this include additional structures?
no.
Okay, even in industrial uses, but,
Industrial use, we did buildings.
yeah.
I mean, if they had like the little shed, that would, I would think would be the same size as like, a shed in someone else's backyard that's like a 12 by 12, I wouldn't we
Okay.
didn't count that, but,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, that seems a little bit more equitable. If you're going based off of the square footage, then an industrial building is gonna be huge compared to
Right.
residential, and it, not to, you know, hit on, you know, the businesses, but,
Right.
you know, the fire department is dedicating specific resources to being able to handle fires in an environment that is different than a home.
Right.
So, I mean, okay,
So I did do kind of like an example, and this one was of Thompson Mills, it's on like the second page of each of the options. So you can see their tax bill, if we did it based off of not doing the debt stuff and not doing the capital projects, it would have went up $600 this year. If it was adding in those others, it'd be $1,600. So I think the ideal situation would be taking off the capital budget and then taking off the debt service, at least the fire truck, because that was something that I think was voted on to be used our debt for, so it makes more sense to me to just keep that. And then in future debt obligations, if we wanted to take them out, we can kind of have that approved, and you could have that as part of that fee if you wanted to.
I have another question. So this is just the money that we put towards the fire district, the Hortonville-Hortonia Fire District. We don't have to have Hortonia also do this
Correct.
formula, right? They can do their own,
They don't have to do any of this.
they don't have to do any of it. So this is just simply how we pay our portion of this, okay?
Yeah, so I went through this, I'm sorry, one of the questions, I didn't follow this at all when I tried to read, I read through it like 4 times, I didn't follow what was going on here.
It's,
I guess I didn't entirely understand what the whole point was, but, so the primary difference between the two proposed, is just the capital, right?
Yeah.
Capital projects that we've
Yeah.
already funded?
Yep.
Okay. And, I mean, how are we going to carry that expense forward? Because right now, that's gonna be built in, like that fire truck is built in this year, next year, the year after that, the year after that.
right, so that's built in. We can use our debt still to handle that. It's already been worked in with everything, so you don't necessarily have to charge it to them. If you did charge it to them, it would reduce our levy if you dropped our levy by that amount, in the debt. Otherwise, if you wanted to, you could restructure that to use more of that 75. I don't think we need that, currently, so it doesn't necessarily, that would be kind of a tax increase if we kept that mill rate for our debt at the same level.
Okay, so once you remove this from the current levy, and if you went with the second option, so you don't charge for the capital, what is the total impact? That is, does the amount that's brought in based off of the levy plus the fire fees, does the total levy go up or go down?
So it would depend on the person's house.
No, the village's levy, the
The
total.
village's total levy
Total
would
levy.
drop.
Okay, so we would get less, we would receive less combined. So you have the
Yeah.
levy, you have a regular levy, and then you have the fire fees, and currently we have one, we have one
Yeah.
combined,
so-
right? We're gonna separate them out,
Right.
and we have 2 options for this. Okay, so if we go with the option where we absorb, the village absorbs the capital, is compared to, combined with the levy and the fire department, are we on the hook for this and trying to find some way to pay it out of this? Or are we equal to what we would have been before?
I'm trying to follow, I'm trying to follow.
Okay, so the question is, are we going to end up with a bill that is going to have to be paid out of, so currently we're taxing, and our total levy includes, the fire, capital fire investment.
Yep.
Okay, and we're planning to pay that out the plan was to pay that out with funds from the village and with the debt, assuming that we had that combined levy. Now, we're talking about splitting and having a levy and a fire, so we're gonna take that out, we're gonna have that over here, but we have 2 options. One is more than the other.
Right.
Okay, so if we look at option A, where we include it, and compare that to the combined levy that we have, well, I'm calling it combined levy right now, right? Compare that to option A, are we equal at that point? And then we compare it to the levy with the option B with no capital, right? Now, is the village intake for the combined total more or less than what we currently have planned?
It could be the same. The reason I say it could be is because if you pull the debt and you say the fire fee is gonna have the debt and the capital in it,
Okay.
you could drop that by the amount that was taken out.
Yes.
You don't have to because it's debt. So
Okay.
you could, if you wanted to, increase taxes by $75,000 and you'd be at the same levy amount, but it would be a tax increase. So if you kept it out, or if you kept it in and you dropped your debt levy, then you'd be equal. So if you keep it in the fire fee,
Yes.
and you drop your debt levy, it's equal to if you have it out.
Okay.
So there's not much of a difference. It's just keeping, the difference is gonna be on the allocation of the numbers. When you add those in, it ends up impacting some of those other entities more.
Okay.
So like, the school district would go from $18,000 having to pay, if we take the debt out, to 32,000 if we keep the debt in.
Okay.
Because they're not paying anything now. And even some of the industrial and larger places are gonna be paying a little more because the amount they're paying, the residents would pay less.
Okay.
Because the square footage doesn't necessarily relate exactly to the assessed values. So they don't,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
a little hard to kind of give you a perfect answer.
Does
but-
the, after you remove the fire, from the general levy, right?
Mhm.
Does the, depending on option A or option B here,
Right.
the levy's different, right?
Yes,
Based off of our debt.
yes, if we.
Okay,
Yeah.
that, I got it. Okay.
If you want, we don't necessarily have to do anything tonight, just because I know this is it's a lot to kind of get your head around. We can just set up a cow too to kind of walk through. I think it's easier when I can pull up a spreadsheet and show you guys in detail, like, okay,
Scenario
so
one, scenario
right.
two, scenario
We can
three
talk
would be
through it.
really helpful.
it's a little easier to follow right now. I know it's a lot of things in the air, and that's kind of why I brought it. And I was like, let's just start talking about it, and it's early enough where we have time. So,
That's a big decision. I
Right.
would rather the
I
committee
would-
of the whole, yeah.
right, and that's why I figured this would be a decent start, and then we can kind of talk through it more.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to table this, for the next meeting, and we can schedule a call for the next meeting or the one after that, depending on.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Roll call,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. E, discussion and possible action on creation of cow for financial plan and water rate study.
This is for Ellers. They were hoping to do it on April 2nd, before the village board meeting. This is the water rate case study and just kind of about our finances there.
So like 5 o'clock, do a full hour.
I think it'd be good, yeah.
So you're going for April 2nd?
Yep.
Okay. We don't need a motion or anything, do we?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay, so we'll go to F, discussion and possible action on removing the structure from Veterans Park.
So this came up in the last public facilities meeting. It's starting to get a little decrepit. And where it left off was, let's just take it down to the concrete pad, just so it doesn't fall over and nobody gets hurt. Since that time, the Historical Society looked at it, and we heard from a member tonight, and they are willing to take it on as a project. They went and looked at it with some people and are willing to try to refurbish it at their own expense. And we just wanted to make sure the board was okay with going in that direction instead of taking it down.
The only thing I would have concern about is how are we going to keep people from going in it in the meantime? If it's such a safety hazard,
It's
are we gonna
not.
put signs or anything?
It's not as dire as it sounds.
Okay,
And I
just
get
from a
it.
safety perspective, that was the lead last time.
Went over myself and looked at it. I would put my own children in there. If somebody, well, maybe that could be taken the wrong way. Let's see, which day would be, yeah. I think if there's somebody vandalizing and hanging from something, yes, they could do some damage. But I don't feel like it's where somebody's gonna be in there and they're gonna get hurt.
That's good, because
There is some damage to the wood towards the bottom. There's been, taking this on, and just to give a little history on this whole gazebo was built entirely with money raised by the Historical Society. When the Veterans Park was set up, they also had a big part to do with the big monument that's there. The big monument with all the different, branches of service, and so they were a big part of that whole layout, but the gazebo was all fundraising, and it would be really sad to tear it down. I feel really good about where the Historical Society's at right now, and I feel like there's an interest, and I know that if we worked with the village, yeah. And I know Claire is on the board as well. I know Reed Schneider called and talked to Aaron, right? He's the president of the group, and Andy Springer's vice president. So if anybody's got questions, you can ask the board. Meetings are once a month, but I think that there's definitely some doability on that structure.
I think it's good, it's just last meeting was all like,
It
this thing,
sounded
you
like
could
it was
tip it over with
dire.
a,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
blowing on it.
No,
so-
go out there yourself, take a look. There is, I think it's always had a little bit of movement, because I remember when it was first built. I mean, and the way it was built, there's some wood that probably shouldn't have been put right on the concrete pad there. But there's electricity there. There's also the structure itself. You know, maybe we need to invest in a picnic table. Maybe we need to do something a little different versus just a couple benches, but we'll work with the village. I
But
think.
that's what we're talking about, is just the physical wooden structure, not the
Physical.
monument or anything like
No,
that.
just the physical wooden structure of the gazebo.
My concern would just be that we have someone inspecting that.
Mhm.
If we could have Paul, just to make sure everything is good and it is safe and there's no liability to the village.
Yeah.
That
I
would
agree.
be the only thing I would ask.
I
Yeah.
think if there is, we can always block it off with caution tape in the meantime while,
That's what I was thinking.
Mhm.
construction's going on. I mean, it's not gonna stop people if they really want to.
No,
but
I just, but at
gives
least we
them a
did
warning.
something, you
Yeah.
know, to cover,
Right.
you know, like I said, last meeting was, it was, you could blow it over
Oh, I know.
with a breath, so I wanna make sure that we're not
Yeah, walk over
Putting
there,
something
take a
in.
look at it.
danger.
If there's, when you think about public areas in the area, especially with a walking trail going through, you've got Alonzo Park. But Alonzo Park is also filled with a lot of children, you know, so there's a lot of noise, a lot of activity. You've got Miller Park, there's not anywhere to sit there in the shade at Miller Park, there's pickleball. But there's really no place just for quiet. And I know we're gonna have Memorial Square, but I think this is even a step closer to quiet. There's a lot of people that fish on the pier. I was really, surprised to see that used. I mean, I'm not surprised that it's being used, but I'm surprised at the amount that it's used. And there's a lot of people that do that, and there's a lot of people that stop in that,
It's a
in
good
that
fishing
building.
spot.
It's a great fishing spot,
Mhm.
and there's a
Always
lot of
has
people
been. It's
that
been
make
hard
a
to
family
cast.
day out of it.
But the pier made it up to me way better.
Yeah, and then they sit in the gazebo in the shade and they have lunch. Or I've seen people take a nap on the bench. So, yeah, walk over there, take a look at it, but, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty, I wouldn't wanna get rid of it, I just, like I said last
I just don't
meeting
wanna tear
was-
something down if there's viability. If there's no viability, the Historical Society I know would come back and say, hey, it's not.
Mhm.
So,
I think we need a motion to allow them to go ahead and do that, so it's all legal and,
I'll make a motion to allow the Historical Society to move forward with repairs and renovations to the gazebo.
I'll second it.
roll call.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
aye.
Motion carried. Okay, G, discussion and possible action on new cloud-based server for administration.
So this is taking forever because the first quotes I got from them was for a hardware quote in the village hall that was about $50,000, and then the online digital one was $30,000, and increasing about $20,000 a year annually for fees. And the person we were working with ended up leaving, so we got the new person. I talked with him, sat with him for a while. We talked through some of it. I basically kind of questioned why. I mean, realistically, we're just saving files for the most part and using it as a file sharing thing. Most of our software is all digital now. We don't have a single software that's used on the server, so there's really no need to have like a large physical server. So eventually they came back, they were able to cut that all down, and they figured out what we actually needed and what we didn't, to my understanding, and this is kind of the quote they came up with. The grand total is around $15,000, most of it's labor for setting it all up, because it's a digital server, cloud-based, is my understanding, through Microsoft 365. I don't know if you have any questions, thoughts.
Are we using the server for anything?
So,
I mean-
it's files.
We're just using, so it's just a file server?
It's realistically, yeah.
But this is the server that you have to reboot a lot.
The current one is, yeah.
Yeah, the
So-
current one we have
Right.
is where you reboot it
We
multiple.
used to have, the reason we had this one, I think in the first place, was we had a lot more softwares that were housed internally. And
Not
it wasn't,
staff.
it was not on cloud so that was changed. And so now it's pretty much just a file sharing server, so.
So okay, so I read through the whole,
Right.
the whole thing. And, so they're gonna manage all the Microsoft license,
Yeah.
which they actually gave a good price, surprisingly. But then, so I kinda understand that you're, okay, so if it was just a file server, you get away with $1,000, you'd be done, right? But, I think that you're minimizing a little bit what your needs are, cause you have some security needs.
Yep.
Right, and then you have, you have some access control.
Yep.
And so that's the only reason that you actually need a server.
Right.
Okay, alright. So then that all makes sense. I followed through with all, it's a little high, but. I
Does
mean,
this satisfy anything with the
It's
PD
much more
that we
reasonable
need to
than
do
what
for
we're at.
security, or
We're separate.
you're
and-
separate?
Yeah, there's no trust
Okay.
with it.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion.
I have a quick question. So are you locked in for a certain time frame on this?
Like, didn't like, what,
Well-
like this is gonna lock us in for another 50-year contract or something?
Yeah.
No.
It's a
No.
legitimate
It's a question I
question.
can
It's a
answer.
legitimate
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
And so with our experience with this company
Right.
to date, is this something we want to stick with? I mean, I know there was some effort that went into here, but
Right.
is it something that maybe, okay, so the current server right now, you have to restart the server occasionally, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the reason for this moving
For a
forward.
while it was weekly.
Okay. So, was there any investigation into a competitive quote, now that we're starting to narrow down our actual needs?
We, not really at this time.
Okay.
Basically, it was trying to get something, that was not, we were about to basically, when we were given those two
Yeah,
other,
oh yeah.
two other ones, cause they were ridiculous in price. But at this point, I didn't, after I got this, cause I just got this probably a week ago, from them with the updated costs and everything. And most of it being management or labor costs to switch stuff over from our current server, and I figured it probably was very similar in cost. It's less in cost than what we paid for the PD server in 2021 in total.
Yeah.
Because the PD server was 9,000 flat plus another, I think it was 6 or 7 in labor. So, I mean, if we can, I think this is a good way forward for us. Whether or not, there's another group that'll come in and do the labor and do the installation, I don't know.
Is this covered under our maintenance agreement that we have, that we already have with these folks with all of our other stuff?
This is outside of that, so it'd be in addition to the 15,000 would be. But it is the same company. There is a annual reoccurring fee of $540 that's listed in there. That's for licensing stuff, I believe.
When does our contract end with this company on the other stuff for maintenance?
Like 3 more years or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any way to make them coterminous, the maintenance fees, when you sign a contract? So that the two end at the same time, so you're not stuck with one on
Right.
one thing and
It's
if
all
we
part of
potentially
that.
move to a different.
I can get verification email that this isn't doing that, but I believe it's in, it's just telling you what.
I just would hate to be stuck with
I
one on one
agree
side
fully,
and then
and
we
I'm
decide
not
to
gonna-
move away from it
I'm
from
not
the
gonna
other.
disagree with you. I will get that in writing from them, that this is not good to do that.
Don't add on, just make it coterminous so it all ends at the same time and they have to
Right.
go both.
I'll verify that that is, and I'll get that in writing before moving forward. But that would be, it's a good point.
The only remaining, I think the price is in the ballpark.
Right.
For where, you might get less and you might get more depending on where you go. But the only question that I would have, or something to look at before moving forward, would be when you decide to leave this company,
Right.
what does the exit from this look like now that we're moving everything to an online-based server that they control? So you're talking about storage that they're going to control, right?
I mean, technically, that's kind of written in our stuff that it's our stuff. It's in
Yes.
the contract, but
But how do, yes, So, based off of our history with it, I mean,
Right.
it would be great if we could stick with them forever, right? I mean, it's awesome if you can have a customer forever, but I never count on that happening.
Right.
So you should have some sort of an exit, plan, if you decide that we're unhappy with them, you should have some sort of an exit plan from this contract.
Right.
And this is the thing that we were missing on the last one too. But we should investigate before signing a contract with them, how do we get out of the contract when it's done? And how do we move everything over to either a new physical server or a different service?
Yeah, I believe that's actually detailed in the actual original contract, but I can
Okay.
double check it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty common for most of these internet, or these IT companies to basically give you a copy of your data, but that's about it,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
I would just look at it, because when we looked at the contract for these folks before, it was, the only thing that was in there is see this thing, and
Right.
that thing was a link to something that could change all the time, and that's what we were held to, versus what we signed when we originally signed it.
No, I will ask them that question too, what it looks like if we did end up leaving in the future and how that would be handled.
Okay.
Do you want a motion on this with these stipulations, or do you wanna wait and come back with it?
It's up to you guys, I'm fine with asking them and whatever.
Just bring it back.
Bring it back?
I mean, if you're only having a reboot every couple of weeks or a month, you're not in a massive.
It hasn't been as bad. For a while there, it was every week on Monday, it would have to get reset, and sometimes there was issues with some payments not getting processed. They did some updates, and it's been good. Yeah, thank you.
Currently, we're paying them for backup.
Yeah.
Through the other contract, we're paying them for backup, so
Right.
the idea of losing information is not a driving force behind this.
I'm just, it's just more
Getting
of
it
a-
before it gets worse
Yeah.
is the goal.
Right, and
Okay.
it's slowed down a lot. I haven't had to a few different times, at least, I think it's probably been 60 days since we've had to. So that's
Probably.
been nice, but it's definitely not a long-term fix, so this would be that, but we can bring this back, or there's no rush.
All right. We'll go to H, discussion and possible action on 420 agreement for maintenance of Nice Street.
This was brought to, I know, the president of, the chairman of the town of Hortonville kind of reached out to Jeannie to sign some of this. She brought it to me. This is a maintenance agreement basically for Nice Streets, formerly TP. The attorneys looked it over. There's nothing really attorney-wise. I had some concerns on a few different issues with regards to potentially some of the tree trimming, the maintenance of the cleaning of ditches and mowing. So the town basically maintains a lot of those sides. We don't do that. Most of those areas are supposed to be maintained by the person who lives there, those next to the road. So some of the concerns I had was we're gonna have these ditches that we're supposed to be responsible for next to the two farms, and we're supposed to maintain those for them. We don't do that for our own residents, and we have no way to charge them. So my thought was either pull out the ditch mowing, the cleaning, and just basically keeping the road maintenance of the roads, stuff, like chip sealing, crack filling, overlaying, shouldering, drainage, but the other stuff to kind of leave for the town.
Yeah, I don't think we should be mowing the ditches on.
No, and so the other option would be basically, the attorney said, well, you could probably have it written in there that any of these services provided, if the village's policy is to assess for them, that the town would have to put that onto their taxes. So that's the other option we could kind of do as well, so.
And what are the odds of getting those monies? I mean, we can assess for it, but that doesn't mean that, so if they're a Hortonia resident, the town of Hortonia gets they can put an assessment.
They would have, yes, they would have to put it onto that parcel for us. They've done that before with, I think there's like 1 or 2 parcels in the village that are on village water and sewer, and one of them had delinquent water. We sent them a letter to the town of Hortonia, and they added that to the tax bill for that person, so.
And delinquent water is a little more serious than mowing of a ditch. That's what I'm wondering, like, you know what I mean, like, so
Right.
could they deny it? Could they say, well, we're
Not
not
if you
gonna
have
do
it, if you have it in writing.
In
I mean,
writing.
technically, they could, but it would void the contract.
that? Can we get that, have legal put something?
Yeah, I mean, I
cleaner?
wouldn't suggest signing this one, but I think we should add some stuff or delete some stuff out.
Yeah, I think you redlined.
But I figured I'd bring it to you guys first to get your opinions before I just kind of had the attorneys start doing that, and then,
Mhm.
we could propose something back to Tony.
That's a good catch. I wouldn't have thought about that.
So you're gonna revise it.
If you guys are in
Bring it
agreement,
back.
yeah, I can revise it and have the attorney bring back a copy for us. Is there a preference? Would you rather, I mean, we can add that in anyway. But we could just take out some of the tree trimming stuff and then add in the line about if it's common practice for the village or town to assess for these services in this area, that the other entity will apply that to that person's taxes.
Yeah, leave it
For-
generic,
for
because you never
reimbursement,
know
yeah.
what could come up.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Then we will go to I, discussion on new potential ordinance for parking restrictions during emergencies, construction, events, detours, etc.
I'll take this one. So last board meeting, there was discussion about the Oak Street detour. My intention was to bring some proposals back to this meeting, what we wanted to do for parking in that area. Then realized we don't have an ordinance per se that will cover us to have those type of temporary parking restrictions. So work with legal on it, and this is just discussion tonight. Would like to bring back a final draft probably next board meeting, but wanted input from the board. So everything in yellow that I provided to you are the changes I made. The ordinance actually comes from Onalaska. I think it covers a lot of things that we have done before with water main breaks and different things. But at that time, we wouldn't really have any teeth from the police side to say, you can't park here or you're going to be ticketed or towed. So it kind of put us, like I said, in a unique situation when I think about Oak Street, because we could present it as a no parking and tell residents that, but there's really no teeth there for us to enforce it. So that's why this was brought back. I did add in C and D because I like the idea of having board input on extensions if it's beyond 14 days, that we would be closing something off, and or if there's events that are coming up, that the board is aware of those parking restrictions and, you know, has some say in putting them into effect. So I don't really know what more else to say other than we need this in order to actually enforce things, and so I think it's something we need to look at.
I would make one change that.
Sure.
I mean, we don't always have a board meeting every 14 days, so I just put a stipulation in there. It doesn't have to be 14 days. I mean, I would, if I was to write this from scratch, I would say, you know, give the police department, you know, and the public works the ability to create a no parking zone for up to, you know, 5 days without any approval whatsoever, right? Just based off of need. Right, and then if you want to go longer than that, then it has to go at the next of it, after that 5 day, after that 5 days, you should know if you need to be longer. Then at that point, then you could go until the next board meeting. I don't know the exact language you strike in there, but you don't, what you would want to avoid is saying, okay, well, we're gonna make this no parking for 2 days, we're gonna make this no parking, 2 days later we have a board meeting, and then we don't address it in the board meeting, and then you wanna go 2 more, you don't have the authority to go 2 more weeks. So you wanna word it so that way you have a reasonable ability to create a no parking zone, that after a certain period of time you've extended that, then the next you can go until the next board meeting kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or
Yeah.
until it's, like, so we have to
We-
post within 24 hours, report 24 hours prior to a meeting. So
Yeah.
let's say this was yesterday at 7 o'clock at night, they wouldn't be able to add it to the next board meeting. So I don't
Yeah,
know how that's
exactly.
worded,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
However,
I mean,
it has to be
And you,
worded.
yeah, I mean, you could put it in, you know,
The next legal agenda.
yeah, something of, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. Instead of just the 14 days, because 14 days, you could be stuck. There's times where we cancel board meetings in the summer, and we don't have a board meeting for a month.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it for discussion. I think
Yeah.
we just kind of talked over what that would look like, and so, yeah, I mean, we can put in there the next legal agenda or next board meeting for
Yeah.
approval, and,
I
yeah,
would-
Next
I
quorum
would,
of
I
the
would
board.
pick a reasonable amount of time that you think is a temporary, right? And then find some way to bridge that gap between that and the next, whether it's just the village president, you know, approving it or whatever, and bridge that gap until the next board meeting. You know, because I think giving the police, not that I think it would be abused, but I think you should, that power to be able to change those zones should sit with this body, right?
yeah, we talked about this. We don't want. I don't
Yeah.
want it. I mean,
Yeah.
quite honestly, because we discussed this. This creates this issue where somebody calls you right a few days before an event, says, "Oh, I forgot," and can you do
Yep.
this for me? And then is it so there's that. And we're kind of covered if there's this issue of safety, right? Like we could step in and say, "Yeah, we'll help out for safety," but if it's just an event and you haven't gone before the board, we could say that's the process.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think that a reasonable period that, you know, you think you could handle, some temporary, and then some intermediary authority to do it until the next board
Yep.
meeting. I think that's the best way to structure that.
And just to add to that too, so Nathan and I talked about this, is, you know, the events that we kind of know that are coming up this year, you know, the Harley, the park, the bike nights, Dash Down Nash, homecoming parade. We'll work with those event organizers this year to say, hey, the ordinance has changed, but in the future, just let us know those dates. But we really haven't, we've not done temporary parking orders. We've just asked people for the most part to move their vehicles and just work with them. But it's nice to have something in place if somebody says, well, I'm not gonna move my car, and there's a concern about safety for it, you know, what are our options? And right now, we don't have anything without an ordinance, so.
I would also suggest putting a trigger in there. So for 1 day, not a big deal.
Mhm.
2 day, maybe, you know, once you start getting above that, maybe put a trigger in there that notified, you know, the board via email or
Sure.
phone call or something, the board members, because honestly, that's something that we're supposed to structure, right? I mean, we're supposed to be able to tell people, yeah, this is, you know, and we're the ones who are gonna get the phone calls along with you.
Yeah.
But, you know, anything that goes over a temporary, you should probably inform the board,
And
whether
not
we're
to,
on a board
yeah.
meeting or not.
And not to keep blanketing, but how do we notify the public that there's a temporary parking? So like, we're not painting yellow lines, obviously. Are we putting up temporary signage? Are we doing something regarding, and like, not everyone's online, not everyone's on social media. How are we, that's my only concern, is that, okay, so you guys notified everybody about garbage, and you guys did amazing communication about garbage. And there were still people with garbage cans out.
On
So,
Wednesday, yeah.
clearly, we're not getting that message out there to every possible way we can. How would we notify someone though that there's no, how are we telling them that there's no parking on Oak Street for the summer?
I think it's the scope, right? And we talked about this a little bit. I think when it comes to Oak Street, I think when we're talking about, you know, in that particular instance, less than 10 houses, I think that we're going door to door, sending them a mailing and saying, hey, this is what's coming. I think if the scope is much larger, I think we still need to rely on social media and, you know, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. But like, so if I'm
signage.
I'm going to go to the administration at the school district sometime this summer.
Yep.
Right? And I don't know that there's no parking on Oak, and I park my vehicle. Are we doing temporary signs? I mean, like,
Yeah.
we're going to have to do temporary signs, right? But maybe something about, you know, notification to the public. I don't know how to notify, whether that be social media or some way to notify the public, because we can't notify everybody. We're not knocking on everyone's door all the time.
Right.
Well,
But
if it's well in advance, like we know
Mhm.
this, right, it can go in the
The
mailer.
Village Voice,
The
too.
Village Voice. If it's something well in advance that we know is happening, we can put it in the Village Voice. If it's not, then I guess we're sort of
I think the signage is.
assigned.
Yeah.
signage is a
based
big
on-
deal, yeah.
I think the scope and
It depends on the situation too. I mean, I
Yeah.
think obviously,
yeah,
I'm not gonna send out a letter if it's a 4-day closure because there's a water main break.
Right.
No.
You know, obviously, I think it's, I mean, if you put something in there for notifying the public, I think make it proportionate to the incident.
Correct. I'm just saying
But
something.
if it's a public facility, like around the school,
Right.
like people are gonna park there, if
You need to
there's
put signs,
potential,
yeah.
you need something.
well, right, and I think some of it's lead time that you have on
Right,
some of
exactly,
these
lead
things,
time is
right?
the other
Like, I think
argument.
if you can get signs up and you can put postings out there, people recognize that it's not, and really, for the most part, our events, without even having this, have gone pretty smoothly with us just asking and telling people that day, but
Like
again,
homecoming, that's a one,
Yeah.
right? So homecoming that we know is gonna happen on a certain day,
Right.
whatever, you can put it out there.
Yeah.
We're talking a detour.
Signage doesn't have to be.
Detours that you
Like
know,
Oak
that's
Street.
another one, like.
Yeah.
And the school district would then have the opportunity to notify their
right,
base, you know?
right,
Especially I think of downtown, I think of businesses. So if there's temporary no parking because it's due to construction and you can't park on this side of the street or whatever, something that the business owners would also be able to share to their customers would be
Mhm.
huge. And then not that you wanna define that specifically in here, but maybe just some sort of notification, public notification within
mhm.
so many hours, you know, 24
I know
hours.
Dash Down Nash does that, they go door to door.
Mhm.
They go all the way down the street and up the street, and they say, you know, we're having a run, so could you please not
Mhm.
park on the road? And most people are very respectful, so that's a nice way to, you know, do it too. If the event person even, like a private event like that. if they
Yeah,
don't
and we
have-
talked about that a little bit too, like, do we put some of the responsibility on event organizers?
Mhm.
The challenge with that sometimes is just,
Follow.
they're following on social media, and we have a broader audience than, you know, some of the event organizers are gonna have, so I think just trying to balance all of that too, but
Like the
yeah,
homecoming, I mean, I think a lot of people know about it, but like you say, not everyone. You
Mhm.
can't expect the school to go up and down the streets, all the streets that we use. So I think putting that out there on social media is a good idea,
mhm.
I think putting that in
definitely.
Voice- I think putting that in the Village Voice is a good idea, because that's a
Yeah.
known
When you
date.
can, you bet,
Yeah.
you bet. I still think
And people that
signage-
don't use social media, and those are the people that read the Village Voice from front to back.
But if you work with the event organizer too, I know, and we used to do Oktoberfest down in front of our building. We sent letters out, we came up and got addresses and sent letters out to all the residents, so not for only no parking, but there's gonna be bands, there's gonna be music,
Mhm.
it's gonna be loud, and so as an event organizer, they should be able to take
Mhm.
responsibility too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the other discussions, we also don't wanna, inhibit any of our folks from doing, you know, things either, or make it more difficult for them to have to do things through our event policy, but I think it would be nice, and maybe as a part of the event, application, just to say, hey, we're looking for this, you know, road closure, temporary, parking closure, just so we can kinda address it the best way we can, to whether it's mailing,
You know,
stopping.
as a courtesy to the neighbors.
Yeah, for sure.
But you basically just wanted something as an ordinance for more teeth, so that the
Yeah.
department could do something if it was.
Yeah, because like I said, this Oak Street, I had intentions to bring something to board, and then realizing we don't even have anything that says that we have the authority to do that.
Yeah.
So then that causes an issue, right, if a resident just says, well,
Do that.
too bad, all right, our police department can't enforce, can't tow, can't ticket, can't do anything, so, yeah, I think that's the whole
I think
intent
it's-
here,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
I'll bring back a final after legal and with some of those suggestions, and hopefully you can get approval, next board.
Okay, then we'll go to 10, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer, Jane.
My report was in the packet, and for those of you that don't know, Lauren, the deputy clerk treasurer, she'll be out for medical leave for 6 weeks. She will be missed,
Yes.
so.
Especially during election
Especially in
time.
election time.
And you completed the audit?
Yes,
That's awesome.
Yep. it went very well, they said. She said it went better than they were expecting. In fact, Kevin, the head guy, what?
Better than they expected.
Oh, didn't even come back the second day. He said we were pretty well wrapped up on the first day.
That's awesome.
That's
So-
great.
Very
Yes.
nice.
Good job.
That is good.
Any questions for Jane? Okay, we'll go to B, director of public works. Aaron?
My report is in the packet. Also, we're in communication with the county emergency management team. We may be able to recoup some of the costs from, for snow removal for this last storm. Working through those paths.
I have a question about snow emergencies. It was asked, I read the snow emergency, it clearly said streets, but then I was also asked if that includes any municipal parking lots, like village parking lots. Do we ever do a snow emergency with parking lots, or?
We haven't in the past.
Okay, all right. Because somebody just said, do we have to move vehicles from the lots so that we can move snow? And I said, I'd watch for posts from, so, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move to C, Police Chief Brian.
Actually, on the note of the emergency parking, I gotta give a lot of credit to our residents. I mean, I will say our officers said it was very minimal, in regards to issues of people being parked on the streets, and so it definitely helps out a lot. Just a lot of training coming up, just ending fiscal year for training in June, so making sure everybody has their hours. And then just kind of a follow-up on the last board meeting, actually met with Nathan and talked with Tom Ellenbecker at the school, and kind of coming up with some alternate routes to maybe try at the end of the year for our HAS, HMS pickup situation. We kind of got a no-cost solution to try out maybe at the end of the year and see how that goes first before we propose other ideas. But it's being talked about. We were supposed to have a meeting on Wednesday, but it got canceled because of the 2 days off, Monday, Tuesday, and so hopefully at a meeting here in the very near future, we're gonna have discussions about trying something at the end of the year to mitigate some of that. So we'll see.
Any questions for Brian? Okay, D, Library Director, Ally.
Our library board meeting from Monday was obviously canceled. So that will be this coming Monday. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. Any questions for Ally? Okay, we'll go to E, Attorney, and they are not present. F, Administrator, Nathan.
Just kind of had my report in the packet, just starting work with the bond council for taking out the bond. So there's gonna be a good amount of paperwork that comes through over the next few weeks. Also, the state senate did pass a new purchasing limit law. It hasn't been signed into law yet by the governor, so it could still be vetoed. But in that, basically, they increased the thresholds from 5,000 to 10,000, and then 25,000 for bidding, and to 50,000 for bidding for construction projects. So my plan is to probably bring that back to you guys at the next meeting to talk through if you wanted to. Pretty much the only reason we really do the 5,000 threshold here for our staff was that state law. So if that changes, if you guys want to keep that for the 5,000, we should probably create a policy around that. So that's why I want to bring it to you guys to kind of talk through.
Is there any timeline on when they're going to start Main Street?
I don't have any yet.
Nothing?
We did meet with.
The bids just came in.
The bids came in, everything, a good amount of it was under, cost for like the bridge and some of the other stuff. The utilities are a little more expensive than expected, and then, Memorial Square was a little less than expected. The road itself, they had a bid, cause the county's gonna do the asphalt portion, but the actual sidewalk portion was under, but with the county's portion on top, it was pretty much right in line with what they're expecting. So we're sitting in a good spot financially, for that, but, we're still waiting on breakouts in detail from the county, which I need in order to get bond council going and our Ellers going with that, so. Hopefully soon we'll be meeting with Vinton, I'm guessing this last week.
I don't know if it's been executed, if the contract's been executed
Right.
yet, but we have it written in that once the contract is executed with the contractor, then they're responsible of having a public meeting with the business owners, to talk about construction timelines, when roads are gonna be closed, things like that. Answer any questions that downtown business owners have.
Just business owners or also any residents in that?
It'd be anyone with resident along. the
Anybody
road.
affected, okay.
Right. So they'd set up a meeting and hopefully explain the updates and how they'll get them, hopefully, and
Yeah,
Vinton's actually, they're the lowest bid right now. They were pretty good on communication during our last project we had with them on, by the splash pad, so I think it's a good group for this.
They're happy to see.
yeah. So I kind of a follow-up, you had asked last time about the Village Voice, and that sort of thing, but kind of a follow-up question, and I did ask you, Nathan, but I just wanna make sure that everyone hears the question I'm asking. We used to get an email from someone in the office, and I don't know if maybe this is more of a Jane question. We used to always get an email from someone in the office that would say, Village Voice deadline is to submit information. And we don't get that anymore as board members, and I think because we are that sounding board in that community and getting the phone calls and text messages and questions from the community, especially right now, if the board members could be included on that email that says,
They already are.
Village Voice deadline,
I already talked to her.
already talked to her, I just wanted to make
And
sure,
so-
everybody's like, why are we getting these emails? It's because I asked.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I wanna make sure,
I talked to her this week, she added you guys all in.
Thank
She
you.
was like,
I
yeah.
just wanna make sure everybody knows it's my fault if you don't like the extra emails, so. But I think it's a good idea to get us, especially with some big things happening, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, we go to G, building permit report, there's none in the packet. H, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? Anyone? Okay, we'll go to 11, communications and miscellaneous business. A, Black Otter Lake District News, Bob.
Nothing new, our next meeting is April 9th at 5:30.
Okay, B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News, Jim.
Nothing.
C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News, it is in the packet. D, Hortonville Civic Association, Jane.
Nothing new.
And E, Senior Activities, Jane.
Nothing new. Our next meeting is April 9th at noon.
Okay. And then 12, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Is there any? No? Okay, then I go to 13. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. It is 7:15.
You got to see it.